Hey, welcome to episode 41 of the Next Step podcast. We're answering questions this summer, but we also have with us today Joe and Linda Demars, who are here with us from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but now they've been 19 months in the South, so we're basically going to be calling them residents and natives, even if they're not really natives, second generation natives. So we welcome you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us
to the Next Step podcast. Tell us kind of your story, kind of where you guys are from, and how you met, and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
you want to start?
I grew up in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And
so you're still a Steelers fan?
Yeah, I never was a big Steeler fan.
Okay, all right, okay.
It's kind of its own cult, and I kind of, was on the outside of that.
Did you have another Penguins or?
Well, we were big Penguin fans. That was true. When Lemieux was at his heyday, that was always a good thing.
And there's not a Pittsburgh basketball team.
Now, the Panthers were good. Okay. Pittsburgh Panthers at one time. But yeah, I liked sports until I got into public school, and then the parents kind of ruined sports, but that's a whole other issue.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But Linda and I met back in 1990, give or take. I was going to graduate school, and I was teaching, and I had taken all my money in the summer to pay for graduate school, not realizing that it was so expensive that I had to go back to my odd jobs in painting.
Okay.
So I put a little ad in the paper, and her father had called, and I'd gone over and gave him an estimate on painting the house. And I had seen her come through, and of course she was adorable. And then I didn't think anything of it. I thought, oh, okay, because I saw her brother, who I thought was her husband, was there. And from there, her parents called, and I'd gotten the job, and I had a crew with me, and we were painting the job and her house and so forth. And the first couple of days, her mom kept talking to me a lot. And asking me a lot of questions. And
she's interviewing you.
Yeah. And I was just doing it from a business perspective. I better be polite, answer all these questions. I could tell she was very Southern because she's from Gastonia, originally from Kentucky. And then Linda came in and asked, then she talked to me, then she talked to me a little bit more. And then I thought by Friday, that girl's pretty cute. I like her. I think I might ask her out.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So we went out in our first.
And so mom had already interviewed you, so it was okay by then because you'd answer the questions all right.
Right. And our first actual date was at the church that she had gone to at a Sparks concert.
Okay.
So it was a Christian concert we had gone to on a Friday night, and the rest is history.
That is so cool. So that was in 1990?
Yeah.
So you've been married 32
years coming up.
Fantastic. Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. So tell us about, you grew up in Gastonia. Which high school did you go to? Or did you move before you got out of high school?
We went to middle school here.
Okay.
So I'm one of 7 kids. My dad was in construction. We moved around where the jobs, were. So lived upstate New York, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Florida.
Wow, you're well traveled.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. So
that's amazing. So you stay a year or two in a different place and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So
which middle school did you go to? Ashley High School.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We're grateful to have Gastonia natives. Thanks for bringing them back down south.
Yeah.
And your girls as well, too. So your oldest daughter, and you have 2 daughters, right? And their names, and what do they do?
Rachel's 26, and she does marketing down here in Charlotte. And Rebecca is 22, and she just graduated from Gardner-Webb. SCO Dogs. They always say SCO Dogs. And she's a registered nurse, so we're tickled.
That's awesome. At Caramont, I think.
Yes.
Just right here in our county. So congratulations for that. Congratulations, Becca, out there for getting that degree, passing the exam, and all that good stuff. So I'm glad you survived all that because that's hard and stressful when you're trying to pass those exams.
It was hard on us, too. Trust me.
Oh, I bet so. You're giving her Valium every night.
Oh.
So she would understand. I know that's not true. But anyway, when you know that your career basis is based on passing an exam, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to practice. That's a big deal. So tell us about your work and the things that you've done over the years. And so you're retired now or refired.
Yeah.
You're fired up to do something new now.
Yeah. So I went to school to become a teacher, a science teacher, and I did that for 8 years. And after a couple of years, I thought, I could do something a little bit different with an education. I went back to graduate school, and thank God I did because I met Linda. And from there, I became a school principal for the past 28 years and until I was able to retire after 35 years in Pennsylvania and at retirement age. And it worked out well.
Fantastic. So we went to undergraduate school at Slippery Rock?
Slippery Rock University.
And where'd you go to graduate school?
It was called Westminster College.
Okay.
It's just a smaller school up north.
Okay. It's not like Westminster Seminary that's in Philadelphia?
Nothing like that.
Different.
No.
Okay.
It's just north of Pittsburgh, about an hour and a half.
Got it. Fantastic. So tell us about kind of your journey from there and what got you here. Tell us about what got you from Pennsylvania to come here after retirement. Was it kind of a master plan all along or what?
Yes.
It was Linda's master plan. That's cool.
Well, we actually tried when he was looking for his first principal position. He did accept a job in Lincolnton.
Yeah.
He worked there for 2 days. And he said,
we
nope.
can bring that up. Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, I can't do this.
Okay.
The pay was bad. I don't know, benefits were bad. And
It was a humbling experience.
yeah. So
I forgot to ask when they offered me the job what the pay was.
Yeah.
I was just so excited because when I was courting Linda, we talked about moving south, and I told her that I would move south. And I can remember praying for God to put a woman in my life, such as her. And then I made that commitment. And I don't make a lot of commitments, but when I do make a commitment, I want to fulfill it.
You don't make it lightly.
So I took the job. I forgot to ask, or I didn't ask, or whatever that had happened. And when I got down to the school, I went and met with HR, and I was actually making less money as a principal as I would have as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I was distraught. I couldn't do it.
Understandable.
So I had to resign after 2 days and went back to my old job. But that worked out because I think it was a year or two later, I got the job I had as a principal in Pittsburgh. And it really helped raise our family, although it delayed us moving south 30 years.
But
Well, welcome back.
Yeah, it was the right decision because I was able to stay home with the girls
Mm-hmm.
and raise them, and was able to come visit a lot here because my parents lived here and I had a couple of siblings too
Mm-hmm.
that are here.
Your parents still live here?
They're deceased.
Oh, they're already gone.
Yeah.
And your sisters?
Yeah.
They both live here?
I
And-
have two sisters and a brother
And where do they
and
live?
two brothers that live here.
Which area? In which
Um,
areas? All
I-
Gastonia?
I have a sister and a brother in Gastonia,
Okay.
and then my brother and twin sister we're all in the same neighborhood
And
in Mount Holly.
Mount Holly.
hmm
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
We actually
yeah.
live in a triangle.
It's
Yeah.
like- I like it. Okay.
It's a triangle.
You call it the triangle. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Why the triangle? Because sisters,
Well,
the sister triangle?
because we live
because we literally
across and diagonal.
Oh, you mean
we
geographically?
actually live
Oh,
in
yeah.
a triangle.
You're not talking about relational dynamics. You're just talking about here's how we live. And
Yeah.
oh, I gotcha. That's cool. What do you love? Because you've been in the South before, but what do you love about living here? What is the contrast for those people that don't know what it's like to live north of the Mason-Dixon line? Tell us what life's like there versus what life's like here.
Well, it's simple. Blue skies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blue skies. I mean, we got blue skies down here, 358 days out of the 365.
Yep.
Her biggest complaint all the time in Pittsburgh was it was gray.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh's wonderful. We have the three rivers. You have arts, athletics, entertainment, and I love it. But the gloom of the gray was taxing for a while. And even some of our friends that come down and visit, they can't believe it. You know, they're like, wow, I've been here 4 days and it's blue skies. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, it's going to be blue skies and it's going to be 850 degrees at noon. So let's hurry up and get outside.
You discover why they call it the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
Right? I remember when I was a kid, like, Sun Belt, what's up with that?
Yeah.
It's like now you make it very clear for us. I lived in Indianapolis for less than a year, so I know a little bit of that. It was all gray except like April and May is what I remember, when we left only after about a year to come back down south. We didn't stay so long up north, but we did our mission service up there for whenever we came back. So tell us about what you enjoyed about your growing up with your children and being principal of a high school and those kinds of things. What it was like to be a homemaker and a mom and then working part-time, sometimes otherwise elsewhere. What was that like for you guys?
You can go first.
Well, it was, we were in a wonderful community in Pittsburgh. So God really blessed us with being there. So we had a great community. We had a great church. So, and just being able to, be with the girls every step of the way. People think that when they get older, you can go back to work. Well, it gets busier.
Yeah, it does.
They need you more,
Right.
So it was just, it was a wonderful, wonderful time.
Your journey mirrors my wife's journey a lot too.
Yeah.
She very much stayed home to take care of the children and then went back to work out there. I went to school but then life happens and all that kind of stuff. And she enjoys being a grandmother now.
Oh, yeah. I look forward to that.
That's going to be fun.
I'm okay to wait on that one.
You're okay to wait on that? Okay. Don't wait for the right guy.
Yeah. Well,
you're waiting what you're doing for a guy to show up your house, to paint your house, right?
Yeah.
He comes there.
The one daughter is married, so.
Yeah, the older daughter is married.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. She got married last year.
And she works for BlackRock, you said, right?
Blackstone.
Blackstone, okay.
Yeah.
And her husband works for?
He has his own construction company.
Fantastic.
So he started that about 10 months ago. He's working his way up and through, and he's doing well.
And her name is?
Rachel.
And then your youngest is Becca. And she just started working for Caramont.
She did.
As a nurse.
Yeah.
So if you go to Caramont, she might be the one to take care of you. You're in the emergency room.
Yeah.
According to Joe, she looks like she's in high school, but she's really not.
She's a smart kid, but you have to get over that whole youth movement.
Right. I love it. So you said you went to a great church in Pennsylvania. Tell us about your church experience up there.
So when we first met, we had gone to a church that was very open, charismatic in the sense, from the music to the pastor. And we had gone there for many years. She started there, and then I, of course, had gone there as well. We got married at the church. They built more of a mega church, I'll call it. But as we had kids and moved away, it was harder. So then we found it was called South Hills Bible Chapel. It was outside of Pittsburgh where we had lived. And that kind of fit our needs. You know,
cool.
It was similar to what you and the guys and gals have created here in a little bigger. It's a little bigger of a church, but very, very similar in a sense. So we started going there, and the girls got involved. It was called an Awana program.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure if it's still
around.
It's still around.
Here. Absolutely.
So the girls got involved with Awanas, and I thought that was great because it wasn't affiliated with us. You know, we'd drop them off, they would get to go, and then they really enjoyed that. And then from there, they got into the youth groups from their junior high, and then of course senior high. And you know, Rachel started it, and Rebecca followed it. And actually, Rachel even has a couple good friends. Well, one in particular that she still talks to today from when they were 13 or 14 years old. So
wow, that's cool.
I think it's amazing, but it really helped us, you know, transition and looking for a church that we were similar with and felt comfortable with. And then we got here to the point to be honest with you, it's Megan and Jonathan.
Okay.
To be honest,
cool.
Because
you're attracted to the music.
Well, I am, because I had heard Chris Tomlin a long time ago talk about how, you know, praise can be done through music. It doesn't have to just be reading the Bible or reciting scripture.
Right.
The music is part of it. And, you know, we tried a couple churches out, and I was raised Catholic. So the old hymns they're fine. And there's nothing against them, but I prefer more of the upbeat, more of the playlists. And, you know, every Tuesday, actually every Monday, I'm clicking the playlist on, did he update this yet? What's coming up this week? You know, I'm really excited about that.
Who's coming this week?
You know, and I love the fact that that you approve and he plans to have drums that actually smash them, you know, and we can actually hear the beat, because I feel that's moving, you know. And if you've ever been to an Elevation or a Hillsong concert, I mean, it's unbelievable to have 10 or 12,000 people, you know, singing Oceans,
right? Or
I Trust in God, or whatever it may be. It's the feeling is incredible when you're with all those people praising and singing like that.
Right.
And I think that's what draws you in. And then, of course, your messages are top notch.
Well, thank you. And I'm sure Jonathan will appreciate that compliment, as well as Megan, too, who's out there, because they do such a great job. And Brent and all the people that help with that team, powerful. Thanks for letting them know and affirming them in that way. So, as you got involved in the life of the church, did you ever lead groups when you were at the South Hills Bible Chapel? Or is that something new for you?
It is new for us.
Okay.
I was in a lot of Bible studies there. We helped with the children's ministry there.
Cool.
So, you know, that was nice. And my girls were involved with that too. So
they helped also as they grew up?
Yeah. She'd be like my little helper.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I really appreciate about our church and about our staff, and what the coordination that goes on between children and students and adults. It's just powerful. We have a lot of our students that actually serve on Sunday mornings. Wednesday night is their night to be students and to be built up and those kinds of things and be part of a group. But many of our students have chosen to get involved, and to us, it just makes it a whole lot easier. It's cool for a kid to talk to a kid who's a little bit older than them, 3 or 4 years, and they can look up to. So
Yeah.
we're grateful to have adults and students at work.
Yeah. Well, they would rather serve than go to Wednesday night, youth group.
Really?
Yeah.
They enjoy that, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So,
Well, it means they've seen a good example in that.
yeah.
So somehow in the last couple of years, you decided we're going to do this group thing, right? Tell us why you chose to do the group thing.
Well, I thought it was important to give back based on, the longevity that we've been married. And as I tell all the people in our group, we don't have the perfect marriage, but we're working towards it. And I think it's important that we would share what worked, what didn't work with others. And because of my position being a principal, I did have people talk to me from a leadership perspective or looking for guidance. Sometimes I don't know why, sometimes I knew why. And I thought it was important that we would just take some of that experience and then, transform that into the marriage, because this is obviously what we have in common is the longevity within the relationship. And for a lot of people that are going through a divorce or a bad situation, it's difficult, and we've experienced it. And, when I first experienced my college roommate going through a divorce, I was just shocked. I mean, I'm thinking, why would you do that? I grew up Italian. My parents are Italian. And, you yell and argue, and then, next minute you're fine. Well, sometimes we yell and argue and you're not fine the next minute. So as you grow up, you see how eye-opening some of that is, or if your spouse is unfaithful, and we've helped a couple people, and we thought, well, we can continually do that or continually help others. And so we thought that may work. And so far, I think it's been good for us and the other people involved in our groups.
Fantastic. So you make a couple of important points. One is that you don't need to be perfect to do something to serve God. I think a lot of people are like, one day when I know enough, one day when I'm smart enough, one day when I'm holy enough or whatever, then I'll serve. But instead, you're saying we're on a journey. It's not a perfect journey. It's a good one, though, gratefully, and based upon mutual promises and faithfulness to one another. But also, you've taken the initiative to say, we do this because we want to help other people in that way. I think that's powerful. It's a powerful motivation.
Well, nobody goes into marriage thinking they're going to divorce.
Right.
I think that's the biggest key that people need to remember. You're going to spend, nowadays $50,000, $60,000 on a wedding. And you're not going, well, I'm, in 5 years, I'm going to call this off.
Right.
I don't think people truly go into doing that.
Right.
So whatever it takes to continue that relationship and how you can work through the ups and the downs, I think is really important.
Tell us about some of the compositions of your group. Is it 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, 50-somethings? Is it all over the map?
Well, this particular group that we have right now, we had about 7, 8 couples that would come continually. And we had a couple that was married 6 or 7 years, all the way up to a couple that was married in their 50 years.
Wow.
So it was a real spanning the globe, as I call it, dichotomy of people within that group. And it was fun. I think it's good to hear some of the younger people's views on what the current situation may be. And then you have some of the people who have, children in their 50s on how they raise them and how they're experiencing them and so forth.
Right.
When you have children that are older, it's always, you kind of giggle inside that this person has a 4 or 5 year old and they're like, oh, I can't believe that the child did that. Or, oh my gosh, they have to get into kindergarten. And I'm thinking, you have no idea.
Yeah, that's right. You're not teenagers yet, right?
You have no idea. You're worried about, your child getting into the, I don't know, whatever, Gaston Christian or whatever that school is you have to apply for. Or, you're into the charter school. I'm trying to get used to all that stuff. I'm unfamiliar with all that at this point.
It's very much more decentralized educationally down here, isn't it?
Yeah, you have 2 choices in Pennsylvania. You go to public school or you go to a private school.
Right.
That's kind of it. But I know charter's kind of creeping in a little bit more.
Right. But back to the foundations of the group, I think one of the most powerful things that can happen is that cross-generational ministry where the younger generation is encouraged by the older generation. And also there's that mutual effect where you're mutually helping each other and encouraging each other no matter what phase you're in. And that you'll get through this and you'll get past this. And not only that, you'll learn something from it and make it better.
Well, iron sharpens iron. And I think it's important that you can learn and listen and be open-minded, whether they've been married 7 years or 70 years. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I think, marriage is a commitment, not a feeling, because our feelings change every second,
Right.
So it's that commitment. You try to like God's committed to us. You know, we have to commit to each other. So just to share that and to encourage.
I'm intrigued, and I think that this has made it easier to not have a good marriage, as is everything else technologically there, because for lots of reasons. But we see people's houses transformed in 30 minutes, and we think our house is going to be transformed in 30 minutes, right? We see people on this channel that, man, they're the perfect woman or the perfect man, and why can't you be the bachelor? Why can't you be the bachelorette? To some degree, we're given this unreality of people that are put in these kind of situations, which are just so not like real life. But I'm just so grateful that you've chosen to take the initiative to serve by saying, we're going to be group leaders, and we're going to come alongside people that have marriages, struggling ones, good ones, bad ones, everywhere across the spectrum. I think it's a powerful thing. I'm grateful for that.
Well, thank you. I would like to say one more thing about how I believe in the development of children would be. So every year we'd have a move-up day. So you'd have the 6th grade parents would move to the 7th grade. And because the schools were separated by 2 years, everybody was always worried about the next grade, which, it's kind of like the boogeyman. Like if you don't talk about it, it isn't true. So let's not fret over this. So the parents were always nervous, would come in, there'd be 200 parents in front of you. And you can just tell the nervous anxiety in there. And they were so worried. And I'd open up with, what are you worried about? And of course you get the sex, drugs, the rock and roll type thing. And I'm like, no, that's not the issue right now. Although those things happen occasionally. I said, your biggest fear and your biggest concern right now, and I would pull out the iPhone because that's the biggest problem we face now, I think, whether it's in school or with marriages or with society as a whole. And yeah, I have one, you have one, we can't live without them. But we rely too much on that. And it becomes too much of a problem for young children that it creates animosity, obviously depression, anxiety in the kids. What happens when you're 13 doesn't change when you're 33.
Right.
So the same problem it becomes.
Just exacerbated.
Absolutely. Worse. And you're always looking for that next high. And people talk about drugs. Well, the phone is a drug. And you get a rush or the endorphins charged because you want to see who emailed you next, who texted you next, what am I missing? And I think that's been a big issue is the phone. And if any advice I'd give a parent would be hold off on the iPhone until you possibly can.
Right.
You can have a flip phone and let them call you if you're so worried about them, but that phone is dangerous.
Yeah. Wow. My 8-year-old grandson had this conversation at the beach about that. I really want to have a phone. I said, well, why do you want a phone? He said, so I can subscribe to Do Perfect and some other YouTube channel. I said, well, can't you do that with your parents at home? Yeah. And so then the next conversation we had, he was in the car and I said, hey, Dad, Easton said he wanted to have a phone. Let's talk about that. And he's going let's talk about why you can't have a phone for a long time. And it definitely is that is well known. Plus kids are essentially, I think part of what is hard for students in middle school and high school is that we understand our kids go crazy. It's because their brains are still developing, their brain chemistry is still developing. And when they're in middle school, they could have children. Their bodies are now started in such a way where they could be parents. And a long time ago, when they're 13 or 14 or 15, they would have been, or they've been married and stuff like that. So that whole kind of thing when you're trying to figure out your identity and who likes me, who doesn't like me, and was this good or was this bad, and the kind of things that I like do other people like, it's a way to just magnify a problem that we had already. We're trying to form our identity.
Absolutely.
Powerful. So I was going to ask you, what were the challenges you had as you were a high school principal? What kind of, if you got a chance to open up your heart and just say, like you just said, one thing, be very careful about your phone. What would you say to parents about their kids? Because you got all this experience. Nobody's holding you down. You can say whatever you want to say. What would you both say? Because you co-parent, obviously, and you've worked in a professional parenting capacity, right? In schools, you're in loco parentis, in the place of the parents for at least 8 hours a day or whatever. What would you say to parents?
Well, that's easy. I would say the problem right now in education we run into now are the parents. We have too much of this helicopter, too much of this rush in to fix the problem that may or may not have occurred. My child never does anything. I mean, I've heard that continually. People like, you were too young to retire. You don't like the kids anymore. I said, it wasn't about the kids. I said, I was just tired of hearing the parents.
Really?
And they didn't like hearing the truth.
Right.
Because I think you needed to act fair, firm, and consistent when you're dealing with children. But can you be fair, firm, and consistent with a parent? At some point, you just have to say, look, this is the answer. This is my decision, and you need to move on. The problem is a lot of parents look at leadership in the schools as the stumbling block or the obstacle. Well, you're just the person in the middle. I'm just going to jump over you, or I'm going to move on to the next higher person.
Yeah.
And, that's why I think, God helped me through that. When you make it that long in the time period, especially in the same particular district, it's important to have Christ behind you so that you can make those decisions that are best for the child, maybe not best for the parent at that time. And I think that's where we are right now. So I would suggest parents take a step back. There are bigger problems that you're going to run into than your child, failing a test or a teacher's, quote, mean to them. And I know there are issues where you need to help and advocate for your child,
right.
But there's a point in which you need to be realistic. And my favorite example is when two kids would get into type of a skirmish and you'd call the parent, and the first response out of the parent's mouth was, well, what did the other kid do? I mean, right then and there, you
Not
knew.
what did my kid do?
No, of course not. Well, my kid didn't do anything. That's not true.
Right.
I do have a funny story, and I'll keep
Please
it
do.
PG.
Okay.
But I had a time where I had to suspend a student because he mooned a bunch of kids in the cafeteria. Okay, mooning's been around since what? I don't know, the 30s.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, it's cute. Okay, well, it may be, but not in school.
Or probably from the year 30.
Something like that, yeah. So the parents yelling at me on the phone and just, giving me the business. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to do this. Just come into the school.
Mm-hmm.
And the parent comes in and, immediately starts yelling at me. And I was just calm, quiet, and I typed up on my computer. And I just simply turned the screen and I said, is this your boy's arse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah.
So that was that.
There's facts are facts.
That was that. So
It's like,
yeah.
how do you keep from getting him
Yeah.
completely suspended forever now?
Yeah. So video helps sometimes.
Right. So on the contrary, in a more positive way, how can parents help in their local schools, whether they're Christian schools or charter schools or whatever? What are principals looking for this people that are out there watching like, man, you're our dream parents because you're helping us to do X, Y, and Z?
I think they need to support the teachers, support the administration, and support the decisions. You can go to the school board meetings and the council meetings and give your input. But there's a point in time where you need to let the professionals be professionals. Mm-hmm. And I've always said, you don't go into your doctor's office and say, you know what? I don't like the fact that you prescribe me penicillin. I prefer to have amoxicillin.
Yeah.
You normally don't do that
That's
to
right.
your doctor. But yet you'll go into the school and you'll tell them, no, that's not right. I don't want that. Or, that homework was too much or that particular test wasn't graded properly. Mm-hmm. I think support them in what it is that they do instead of either harass or continually berate them that they're not good enough.
Right. Was there a moment that you had as you're interacting with couples now, bringing it back to what you're doing now, how you're serving, where you found that your life experience just really came together for you to open your mouth at that moment and to take somebody by the hand, if not literally, figuratively, and say, God prepared us for this moment? Do you have moments like that? Without getting too personal or giving away names, do you have those, or was it more of an experience of, as you're working with couples, that, man, there's just this cool vibe in the room. We know we can count on one another and we're encouraging one another? What'd you say?
Well, definitely that, the encouragement. I think we've helped, people open up, to become more, like they wouldn't tell their husband something, but now they will,
Right.
Mm-hmm. Just different ways to
That's a big deal.
approach. Yeah, to approach the situation or whatever's happening.
That's awesome.
So,
And I think there's a probing question that I try to develop when I'm facilitating particular meetings so that we would get each of the couples to speak. So you push that particular question a little bit more so that people would open up. And, a lot of times I'll start with giving an example so that people kind of relax, let their guard down so that they feel free and comfortable to speak. I think that's important to help out with that. And also, again, we've said before, being able to be there to support the person so that they know that, we aren't just coming and going. We're going to be here for a time period. So we're going to do our 8-10 weeks here, but you'll see us in church and we'll pick the group back up. And our example with our group is the book was so long that we had a 10-week, I'll call it session. We took the summer off and we're going to pick it back up at the end of September again.
Cool. So,
but it's nothing. I mean, this book, you can start in the middle. It doesn't matter. So if someone wanted to join, it's coming up, that would be great. They didn't really, they're not going to be behind.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, it's like you're A through M, and now you're just going to talk about N through Z. It's more topical in that kind of thing.
This particular book it's a couples activity book. Mm-hmm. So you have scripture, you have the author's narrative, guiding questions, and then an end prayer. So from there, when I pre-read them, I'll then talk about the particular scripture part, because I think that's obviously first and foremost. And then the author's interpretation is that interpretation. It doesn't mean that we can't add ours. Right. And then we get into the probing questions, whether they're hers or ones that I'll think of and develop and bounce them off Linda.
Right.
She'll correct me, and then I'll change it again and go on from there.
Yeah. It's more dynamic that way.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a group for the fall and you're married, this is going to be a great experience for you to grow as a couple, to be in Joe and Linda's group. And there are others certainly as well too. I'm just deeply grateful that you're willing to do that as well. So you are committed to jumping back into groups in the fall.
Yeah, we're very excited. And I want to thank you and Brad for allowing us to do it. I mean, we just came here when we first started with Clark and Leslie, and next thing you know, 8 weeks later, Clark's like, "Well, you go ahead and do it." He's like, "I'm still working."
Yeah.
So then we kind of did it together,
right?
And then we kind of branched out on our own.
Cool.
I was just grateful that you did that. And
well, you've got a wealth of experience as parents and as people that are married and as educators. We're just deeply grateful for that. So let's move to kind of a different kind of segment. Let's make it fun. You guys have done a lot of incredible things, and you've been all over. You've lived probably more places than you have, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You cover at least the eastern part of the United States, right? Let's talk about just some things that might be kind of fun questions. So, do you prefer the east of North America or the west, or the central part of America? East. Let's just make it east. East or west?
East.
Okay. Absolutely.
Why? Just because of what you know?
Yeah, I think the familiarity part, and I think we align ourselves better with the East Coast.
Yeah. Do you call it a hot dog or a doggy?
Oh, it's a hot dog.
A doggy?
A doggy. I've heard some people in Pennsylvania say, "Let's go down to the shore and grill some doggies."
Oh, really?
I had that happen when I went to Pennsylvania as a kid. Really interesting. So, if you could go anywhere in the world you've not been to yet, have y'all talked about where you'd love to go? You have a dream of going somewhere?
Well, you want to go to Greece.
I'd probably say Greece.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Like Greece, the country, or the Greek islands? My wife wants to go to the Greek islands.
Yeah, I want to see Thermopylae and the battles out there and so forth that I've read. It's just kind of interesting.
Fascinating. So did you major in history on the way to
No, I was a science major, but isn't it true that the older you get, the more interested you are in the history of what goes on?
Absolutely. That's why there's Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So you said you came from what background? What's your nationality? Italian?
Yeah. Italian and Irish.
Have you been to Italy or Ireland?
I have not.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't mind going there. I'm not, really dying to go there yet. But
so
we'll
the name Demars, does that mean like by the sea?
It does, actually.
I thought so. De means up. Okay.
Yeah.
There's not enough Latin or whatever to figure
it does,
out.
yeah.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. So of the places you've lived, where would you like to go back to visit, but not stay
there? Florida.
Florida, which part?
Tampa.
Tampa, okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. Tampa is pretty. Those beaches are nice and pristine.
Yeah.
Or bright and white.
We lived upstate New York. I don't have any desire to go there.
Which part? Schenectady, Buffalo?
Syracuse.
Syracuse, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really cold and close to Lake Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Very cold.
Hamburgers or hot dogs?
Hamburgers.
Okay. Favorite hamburger? Place, chain? It
has to be Bright Star.
Bright Star. You like Bright Star.
Who doesn't?
How about that? That's cool. Tell everybody here where Bright Star is. Because it's not a big chain. This is not Hardee's or In-N-Out or whatever.
It's somewhere in Mount Holly. I know I just get on the road, turn right, and there it is. I don't know. I don't know the names of streets yet. I'm still trying.
I love it.
I'm still trying to get used to 485, 77, 85.
Right.
So I'm trying to get used to all that.
Absolutely. The race courses that are there, right? Until you get to South Charlotte, almost any time, it's like, there's no race to get anybody to get home. It's great. Or beach or the mountains for vacation?
Oh, beach.
Beach, okay. Northern beach or southern beach?
Not sure I know the difference.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't know.
I don't really know the
I've never
difference.
been to the northern ones that much. Except
Southern.
the more brown sand and a little more coarse.
Southern.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And cold. It usually tends to be colder above the Mason
Right.
Dixon line, doesn't it?
When we were first dating, I told her that let's go to the beach. And she's like, yeah, that's great. Let's go to the beach. So I took her to the beach. It's called Erie, Pennsylvania, near Erie Beach or
Right.
Erie, Lake Erie.
Right.
25 minutes we were on the beach. She was like, this is disgusting.
Right.
Broken
This
bottles,
is not beach.
glass, gravel. She's like, this isn't the beach. I'm like, what are you talking about? So
Yeah.
then I think a year later we went down to Myrtle
Right.
and I was like, where are we?
Yeah.
I mean, it was, how big it is.
This is the beach.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, I've never been
He didn't
anywhere.
travel very much growing up.
My father was a steel worker.
Yeah.
So
Where did you go on vacation with your kid then?
we went to Erie.
Erie.
Went to Erie.
Erie.
Okay.
Erie, PA. It's 2 hours, an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. It's
Right.
just on the shore. You can only go there like 8 weeks a year because every other week after that, it's,
Cold.
you might experience 3 seasons in July.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. So when you go to the beach down here, where do you go? What's your favorite one? Do you have a favorite?
She likes Hilton Head.
Yeah.
I like Virginia Beach,
Okay.
but Myrtle's easy to get to.
Yeah. It's a compromise in the middle,
It's easy to get to.
right? That's definitely true.
Yeah.
So if you were given an unlimited budget to do any kind of travel and you had to take it within the next 2 months, would you buy a ticket to Greece and go there? Or would you try to make it, or this expires in 2 months?
Oh, I would.
Or would you
If I had unlimited budget like that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I know it's not
Would you
easy.
have an unlimited budget as a form of principal?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Greece isn't easy to get to. I do know that.
Oh, is it not? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been there. Sounds like we'll go together maybe.
Yeah.
Make it a couple
We'll
journeys.
better start saving.
That's right. That's definitely true. I love it. So are you avid fans of any particular sports teams? Because you've lived a lot of places.
Yes.
Are you Panthers fans? Or I know you said you're not really a big Steeler fan, but
No, I've only gravitated to one, and I'm a big Irish fan. So I'm,
Okay, Notre Dame.
big Notre Dame guy.
yeah.
We get to go once a year, twice a year. We get to go up to Notre Dame. It's a little further from here,
Yeah.
but I'm really a big Irish fan.
So you go by yourself or you go with friends from up north?
She's gone with me a couple of times. I have friends that will meet from Pittsburgh.
Right.
So we're already planning on heading up in September.
Yeah.
Going to go to back-to-back weeks. So it's just a beautiful place. If you've never been there, as Coach Holt said, no explanation will do.
Right.
You walk into the Basilica. It's just, it is Catholic.
Yeah.
But if, you can appreciate, the gold tabernacles and just the beautiful architecture
bet
inside
so.
the Basilica. There's nothing like it.
I'd love to go see them. So my brother Roger, who attends the Point 2 with his wife Rhonda, they have a daughter that lives in South Bend.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah, they love it. Brittany's her name. Brittany's watching out there. Hey, Brittany.
Yeah.
You got other fans that are here
yeah.
as well. So, ice cream or cake?
I'm going to
Ice
go
cream.
with cake.
Okay. I've eaten some of your
Yeah.
cookies.
Yeah.
Your cookies are kind of like cake, man. They're
I
pretty
got a
amazing.
real sweet tooth. That's why I walk and exercise.
Absolutely. When you exercise, what kind of exercise program are you doing? Are you walking and doing HIIT or running, or what do you do?
No, we try to do our brisks walk every other day, and then we hit the Planet Fitness on the off days and just try to stay in shape from there.
That's awesome.
So,
We like to bike.
and we do bike when
Yeah.
we're able to. We haven't really found a good greenway here yet, but we haven't ventured down into Charlotte. They keep
Okay.
telling us there's greenways in Charlotte.
Yeah, there are.
So that's kind of like we like to go on vacation so we can bike.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Mountain bikes or road bikes?
Just road bikes.
Yeah, cruisers.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have such fascinating history but just fascinating story. We're so glad you're here. Glad you're back home. Glad
Yeah,
you
me
made this
too.
your home. And our church family is grateful to have you as part of our leadership to help to nurture people in their marriages. And if you're watching out there, challenge you perhaps to say, hey, man, we need to get Joe and Linda's group in the fall. Now, you
Love
can't
to
we can
have
have 90 people, but we can have a few more, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks so much for sharing your life and your time with us.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
having us.
So before we go, one last thing I would say is there something that you would have to say from your life that's kind of important to you scripturally? I mean, I know everything is. Do you have a life verse or a principle that you've always wanted to apply or that you have applied in your life that either or one or both of you would share about?
Yeah.
Well, the shirt
That
you
was
wore yesterday.
Yeah. Go ahead while I think about that. Kind of sprung that one on
I'm
me.
sorry.
Philippians 4:13.
We can edit all the time as you ponder.
Well, for me, I'm going to go back to I trust in God. I know that was part of the song, but I think that prayer is the most important thing that you can do in your relationship with Christ. And I think that's something that maybe I didn't know or not believe that I didn't practice as much when I was younger or have less time or more time, although that can be an excuse as well, because you always seem to make time for the things you want to make time for.
Right.
So for me, it's, I trust in God, and I think that beyond that, it's prayer.
Amen.
And mine, I think, is Jesus is our foundation. No matter what we do, no matter what kind of day, he's our foundation. So we always have him to just rest in him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, learning to trust God and rest in him are two wonderful goals in life. I also appreciate your idea of keeping my commitments. I promised her we'd move south, so we moved south. So you're definitely a man that keeps his promises. And we're just so grateful for what God's done in your life personally, and pray for you and your family. And we're grateful to have you as part of our church family.
Thank you.
you.